Hello, we are continuing with our Django documentation journey, and we are continuing with the part getting started, section getting started, the first step part, and continue with the tutorial part 4, forms and generic view. Okay, I think I will, for my eyes, I will change to dark mode with dark reader. So it's easier to read and so. Okay. And also, do you remember last videos I do it like that? I drag and drop my windows to the edge so that I can have it half a screen. Also, I can do it with window key on your keyboard, the window key and the arrow, right arrow or left arrow here, right arrow or left arrow here. So I use right arrow, and then it asks me what's the other window, and I will choose Visual Studio here. And if you remember the Visual Studio, I will hide this bar by using View, Appearance, hide the primary sidebar, or I use Control B. Okay, so that's easy for us to compare the code. From our code with the text code, the code from the Django documentation. Okay, so next, writing your first Django part 4. We are beginning where tutorial 3 left off. If you need help, go to getting help section. Okay, write a minimal form. Let's update our poll detail template. Polls detail HTML, remember it is in, okay, we have to either go there or I will go here. Do you remember that? It is in our desktop here. It's our DJ for Begin, My Site project. In the My Site project, we have the Polls app. In the Polls app, we have a template folder. Folder names template, and within that template folders we have another folder, subfolder named polls. Within that we have our templates, the detail and index. That's what they are talking about. Polls detail HTML. Okay, now what's next is here. So they ask us to open our detail HTML. We open our detail HTML from the last tutorial, so that the template contains an HTML form element. So what they ask us to do is to adjust our detail HTML file like that, and they don't say to replace or to delete the previous code, which is quite something. Repeated or not? Header 1 question, the question text, and then header 1 unshorted link, and we have the for loop and end for, and it will list out the choice text. So here for loop question code set all, and then input a radio, type is radio, the name is choice, ID is choice. For loop counter how many record we found, and then value is the choice ID, and the label is choice. So it's somehow. Okay, by that we will learn another thing. I said I will enter. So I will copy this code here. Ctrl V, okay, and one more thing for you to learn if you are new to HTML is the tag, the command, okay. So this is our old code and they don't mention anything, so I will try that. I will do it exactly as a beginner that I don't know whether to replace or not. So I will command something. Here's the command. And what I will comment here is the old code. Okay, so we let it here, and we see what happened if we, because it's not clear to replace or not. And as a beginner, if you read this document, you will also confused at how we do it. Okay, so let's see what is happening. What will happen if we are not replacing, and we are just doing like that. And remember that here is the type of to do the command in HTML. Okay, so save file, save or Control S. Okay, a quick rundown. The above template display the radio button here. The type is radio button, the input. For each question choice, the value of each radio button is the associated question choice ID. For now, I think we have only one ID only. The name of each radio button is choice. The name is choice. That means when somebody selects one of the radio buttons and submits the form, it will send the post data choice equal the symbol sharp, where sharp stands for the ID of the selected choice. This is the basic concept of HTML form. Okay, here we have a form, the HTML form. We set the form's action to the tag URL post vote question ID. We know about this in our previous videos already. So this will lead to posts, and it will pick up the vote. And we set method post. Using method post as opposed to method get is very important, because the act of submitting this form will alter data server side. Whenever you create a form that alters data server side, use method post. This tip isn't specific to Django. It's good web development practice in general. So, long story short is that okay, we make it very fast. What we do now, we will get vs post. That's the easiest way. Okay, see? Get is used to view something without changing it, while post is used for changing something. That's the easiest way. So when you use get, you just need to look for something, but will not change the data. And when you use post, means that you look for it and change it. That's the fastest way. So in our case, we will use post. After we look for it, we will change it. Okay. For loop counters indicates how many times the for tag has gone through this loop. The for loop counters here. It will indicate how many times, means how many findings we will find within our database regarding to what we are looking for. Okay? Since we are creating a post form which can have the effect of modifying data, we need to worry about cross-site request forgeries. Thankfully, you don't have to worry about too hard about it, because Django comes with a helpful system for protecting against it. In short, all post forms that are targeted at internal URLs should use the template tag as CSRF token. CSRF stands for cross-site request forgery. And if you want to search, then make it cross-site reverse forgery token. Here we have it. And we can read about that. It's kind of a tag also. I think I have to change it to English. What the heck here? Change to English. and then I have to pick it back to my side screen here. Okay, so it's kind of attack when duplicated things are created. Okay, so avoid it. Django made it easy for us that we use the CSRF token, and I think it's somewhere here. The template tag CSRF token. Okay. Now let's create a Django view that handles the submitted data and does something with it. Remember, in tutorial 3, we created the URLconf for the post application that includes this line. So look for it in the URL from post here. We have integer vote here, the vote ID vote here. Name vote, okay? So now we also create a dummy implication of vote function. Let's create a real version of that. Add the following post views.py here. Yeah, is it? Yes, it's post here, and the vote is here. And now they said that we have to create, means that we will replace this line, and also changing some import, I think. Let's see whether we have to change import. Import HE404. We have 404 using and use. Here we are using 404 in use, but get object is already, so we don't need that. Maybe we don't need that one here, and maybe we go with that one and render, and then reverse. We have reverse. Maybe we are not using here. You can see it. We are not using loader, and we are not using HTTP 404. So I think the best is to copy this one and replace it with the other one. To copy and replace it with our version 1. To V. That's better. So we have not used the response redirect yet because we have not coded yet. And here is the vote. The vote view vote is here, and we replaced the whole set here with that one. Control copy and Control V. Control V. And we have it all. Okay, that's easy. You see, we have two windows side by side, so then we can really easy compare it. Here we have the vote here, and then else here, select, and so. But there's something. The question ID, and we have issue respond to redirect the question ID. That's it. Okay, everything is done. So file save. Control S. This code includes a few things we haven't converted yet in this tutorial. Request post. Request post. Request post. Where's the request post? Request post is a dictionary-like object that lets you access submitted data to key name. In case request post choice 1 returns the ID of selected choice as a string. Request post values are always set strings. So request post, request. Here. Primary key we will change to request post. Okay, and pick it from the choice. Note that Django also provides request get for accessing get data in the same way, but we are explicitly using request.post in our code to ensure that data is only altered via the post code. Okay, that's what we are doing. And Requested post choice is will raise key error if choice wasn't provided in post data. The above code checked for key error and display the question form with an error message if choice isn't given. Okay, so key error choice does not exist. If in case except if it's not exist, then return random request post detail and question equal question and error message you didn't select a choice. We will see what is happening that okay. And I say if you don't choose or don't do anything, then we'll raise an arrow key, and that's what we will see it. Okay. After incrementing the choice count, the code returns an HTTP response redirect rather than a normal HTTP response. HTTP response redirect takes a single argument, the URL to which the user will be redirected. See the following point for how we construct the URL in this case. Okay, so we will redirect. I think it's here. Return instead of respond. Now we respond redirect and reverse the post result with the argument question ID. Okay. And don't worry, because we are at the beginning level, so and we have just on the fourth path of the tutorial. So maybe you're not understand well all of what is on the screen, but just be calm and cool. Just follow it, just do it, because we are only at the fourth tutorial. So maybe there at the beginning level there's something really strange, really new to you, and just don't stress out. Just follow it. The more we're practicing, the more we understand it. Okay. Oh, now what next? Incrementation respond direct. And as the Python command above points out, you should always return an SU-respond redirect after successful dealing with the post data. This tip isn't specific to Django. It's good for web development practice in general. And this is what we said somewhere in the top here. I think here for the post method. Okay? It's good for practicing and not just for Django. We are using reversed function in the HTTP response redirect constructor. In this example, this function helps avoid having a hard-code URL to hard-code a URL in the view function. It is given the name of the view that we want to pass control to and the variable portion of the URL pattern that points to that view. In this case, using the URLconf, we set up in tutorial 3. This reverse code will return the string like this. Okay? Where the tree is the value of the question ID, this redirect is in our case, sometimes we have it here. Our example is 5, and maybe it's 3. It depends on the context of the user is using what question ID. Okay. As mentioned in tutorial 3, request is an HTTP request object. For more on HTTP request object, see the request and response documentation. After somebody vote in a question, the vote view redirects to the result page for the question. Let's write that view. Okay, now we go to the result, the vote. Okay. So in the post view here, from Django shortcut import get object and render. From Django, here we have it already. So just change the result. That's one. So I am from Our original was response is a sentence like that. You are looking for the result as question and the question ID, and return HTTP response and question ID. Okay, means that response including that ID. Okay, so now we are changing to question get object or question with the primary key is question ID, then return render request post and question. Okay, now that's the result. Control copy. Of course, we will replace this one full. Control V. Okay, now we are using request because the request is now any. Okay, and don't forget to save. Control S or file save. Control S. Okay, Control S. I mean Control S, or you click on save. Yeah. This is almost exactly the same as the detail view in tutorial 3. And you can see the detail view here and the result view. Ideal. They are looking exactly the same. Okay. Except there's one thing is here, the URL. This point to detail template. And this point to result template. Okay. We'll fix the redundancy later. Now create a post result HTML. Remember that the view, appearance, primary sidebar, and then we go to post. Here we have only two template at the moment is detail and index. So we right click on post in VS Code and new file. And the file name is results.html. Enter. Okay, we have it here, and we do something. Click on the document icon here, copy this code, and then come here and Control paste, Control V. Okay, so we have it. See, that's quite easy. Question tag and then unsorted list, and then go with the list, and the ref is post details and question ID vote again. Okay, so Control S, file S, Control S. Yeah, now go to poll 1 in your browser and vote for the question. You should see a result page that gets updated each time you vote. If you submit a form without having chosen a choice, you should see an error message. Okay, so before we read more, we will try it. And before we try it, we have to go to here and run our server. Python, and you remember that Python manage py run server within the my site project where we have to manage py.py file. Okay, and our server runs at 1.7.127.0.0.1 and colon 8000. And for that, I don't need to retype because I have made a bookmark here. Ready? Oh, why has happened like that? Remember that? Because we have not yet created our home page. Which one with the home one? Okay, so for us at the moment we have to go with post slash, and they ask us to post /1 means question 1, and what we see, oh, what here? We have what's up, not much, the button which we created already, and what's up, not much, the sky. Remember what is it? I think it's here. What I mentioned here at the beginning of our tutorial, this tutorial. So actually we have to replace the code here. So now is another technique is if you want to comment out the whole thing here, in case you have two versions of code and you want to back up one and later maybe during your working on programming, maybe you will need to see what is what, and then maybe you want to reverse back to your previous code. By that, how you do it, we comment it out. And if you remember, if you are using Django Python, then you use the symbol sharp symbol. But for HTML document, it's not that. HTML is here, and easy to do the whole block. Comment out is just delete that one, as you see, and you lock it here. Minus minus and the arrow or lesser or greater or lesser than. Okay, and here we create the whole thing. Here is comment out, and then we go file and save. Okay, now we refresh. See, it's gone. Kaboom, it's gone. So we have the right thing here. So one more thing is they said when you submit a form without having chosen a choice, you should see an error message. So let's look for an error message. Okay. If I don't pick any question here, and I click vote, to make you see it easy on your screen, maybe it look like that. Yeah, because I'm using dark reader mode. So because I use dark reader extension, it comes to like that. But don't worry, it's just looking. Okay. So if I click on vote, what will I see? You didn't select a choice. You remember that from the views post, and here, here, key arrow. If we make an arrow, then you didn't select a choice. Occur here, you see? Here, you didn't select a choice. So we have to select a choice. So let me see, not much, vote. One vote for not much. Vote again, okay, vote again. The sky, vote. One for not much, one for the sky. Vote again, okay, again. More, I love the sky, man. Two for, okay, see? That's how it works. Easy as it's look like. Okay. Note, the code for our vote method or function will does have a small problem. It first gets the select choice object from the database, then computes the new value of votes, and then save it back to the database. If two users of your website try to vote at exactly the same time, this might go wrong. The same value, let's say 42, will be retrieved for votes. Then for both users, the new value of 43 is computed and saved, but 44 will be the expected value. Okay, if two at the same, then we miss one value. This is called the race condition. If you are interested, you can read avoiding race condition using method F to learn how you can solve it. For the beginner level, I don't recommend you to go through that. You can go if you like to, if you are curious, and most programmers are curious. You can go for it, but at the moment, I'm not going for it because we stick with the original tutorial. Okay? But so we know there is a problem with our code and there's a solution. And this is for later at the when you are more familiar with Django. Then we go for it. Okay? Now, use generic views, less code is better. Okay, that's for sure. The detail from tutorial 3 and results view are very short and, as mentioned above, redundant. The index view, which displays the list of posts, is similar. Views and okay, Control B, or we go to View here and Appearance and close this one by Control B. Okay, so we have our views here, the index, the detail result. We know it looks almost the same, similar. And here is something that is in common. Okay, it will list out some object. Okay, something like that. Now what? This views represent a common case of basic web development, getting data from the database according to a parent parameter passes in the URL, loading a template and returning the rendered template. Because this is so common, Django provides a shortcut called the generic views system. Generic views abstract common patterns to the point where you don't even need to write Python code to write an app. That's great. That's good, man. Let's convert our poll app to use the generic view system, so we can delete a bunch of our own code. We'll have to take a few steps to make the conversion. We will convert the URLconf, delete some of the old unneeded views, introduce new views based on Django's generic views. Okay, read on for details. Okay, we read on for details. Why the code shuffle? Generally, when writing a Django app, you evaluate whether generic views are a good fit for your problem, and you use them from the beginning rather than refactoring your code halfway through. Of course, we would not go for a long code and then kaboom, turn back to, oh, okay, now we have to do it all over again for using the generic views for the better, shorter way, of course so. And you use them from the beginning, of course so. But this tutorial intentionally has focused on writing a views the hard way until now, to focus on core concept. Because we are learning from the beginning. That's why we need to learn it. You should know basic math before you start using a calculator, of course so. Nowadays, many people use a calculator from the beginning, and then somehow for a simple divide math, it may scratch out the whole hairs of your head if you don't know how to divide. Okay, so we have to know the basic math before we are using calculator. So we know the basic math here, what is on the back end of the program. Okay, now we just amend URLconf. First open the post URL and change it like that. So we go to URL, where's my URL? Hey, where's my URL? Here's my URL, and what this for? Run Python file. I don't run it at the moment. I said I don't run it, and it runs already. So delete it. I don't run it. Okay, URL is here. Now open the URL and change it like so. Post URL. We have our URL like that. Import path, import views, and then path index view as view. The name is index. Ours is view.index and name index. Integer ID and then views.detail and then name detail. Now we go with detail view as view. Okay. Okay. Just copy. And the easiest way is to replace. Control V. Shorter? Yeah, but there's something shorter. Not just this one. This one because we just changed something. Not exactly shorter. We missed out some command also. But this is shorter. Will be shorter for a moment. Note that the name of the matched pattern and the path strings of the second and third pattern has changed from question ID to primary key. Primary key. Here, integer from question ID. Now we have the to primary key. Okay. Here, the view will be changed to be shortened. I believe it. But before that, Control S, save, and then we roll back to views. Here. Next, we are going to remove our old index, detail, and result view for use with Django generic views instead. To do so, open the post file and change it like so. So we have to change it like that, but for that we have to check. First we check what? Redirect, not respond needed. Object render, reverse. Now we have another is generic views. That's what we are learning at the moment. And then question and choice. So I will make it fast. Let's copy whole here to here. Control copy and Control V. Okay. Now next, index view we will replace with the index. Detail view is replaced with detail. Result view is replaced with result. The vote same as above, no changes needed. So the vote we have just recreated, so we don't need to change. So we only change three view: index, detail, and result. From this, we change it to generic view and query set, return object, public date, and so. Okay. So we change this tree. The vote we keep it the same, so Control copy and replace. Replace here and keep vote the same. Control V. Enter, because here's the vote and I don't want to touch it. Okay, I don't want to touch vote. 2 lines separate. Okay, then 2 lines. So, class index view, generic. We use generic list view and use the list of view. To list the view, template name is poll index. So we will use the index here as our template. Object name is latest question list. Okay, get query self, return the latest 5 by using question.object order by public date and get 5 records. Okay, and detail view is modal question. We use the modal question, and template name is post detail and use the template here. You see it's quite shorter than our old code. Result view, generic detail view, modal question, and template name. Yeah, just few lines, and you don't need to code anything. Yeah, just mode. We use question, modal question, and then template name is poll result, and that's it. Instead of our old long code. Yeah. Okay. Don't forget to save. Now, what's next? We are using 2 generic views, list view and detail views. Respectively, those 2 views abstract the concept of display a list object and display a detail page for a particular type of object. Each generic view needs to know what model it will be acting upon. This is provided using the model attribute. We are using the model attribute here, the model. Here, model attribute and model equal to question, model equal to question. The detail view, generic view expect the primary key value captured from the URL to be code PK. So we've changed question ID to PK for generic view. By default, detail view generic view use a template called app name model name detail HTML. In our case, it would use the template post question detail HTML. The template name attribute is used to tell Django to use a specific template name instead of the auto-generated default template name. So by default, it will generate this file, question, and then detail HTML, but ours is detail only. No, the name is only detail HTML, not question underscore detail. Okay, so that's why we have to point it. And here we will point the template name is post detail HTML and template name is post result HTML. Okay, so this ensures that the result view and detail view have a different appearance when rendered, even though they both a detail view behind the scene. Okay, detail view behind the scene here. Okay, similar the list view generic use view use a default template called app name. Okay, by default it auto generate a name as a model name and a list view. For our it maybe is like post and question and index, yeah, underscore index, and that's why we are pointing to our, like I said here, we point to our template name instead of using the auto generate template name. In previous parts of the tutorial, the template have been provided with a context that contains a question, and latest question list contains context variable. For detail view, the question variable is provided automatically. Since we are using the Django model question, Django is able to determine the appropriate name for the context variable. However, for list view, the automatically generated context variable is question list. To override this, we provide the context object name attribute, specifying that we want to use the latest question list here. We use context object name and we use latest question list instead. As an alternative approach, you could change your template to match the new default context variable, but it's a lot easier to tell Django to use the variable you want. Okay? Run the server and use your new polling app based on generic views. Now we will try our generic view. For such details on generic views, see that when you are familiar with everything of essential Django knowledge, then we can go to deeper knowledge by learning more deep into the documentation. When you are comfortable with forms and views, go to part 5. Oh, we are at the end of part 4. Now, before we stop our video, we're gonna have one more thing to do is running. Yeah, we run already. We run server already. So, and we save it already. Okay, we save everything already. Already saved. So that's just what we need to do is check our new application, our shorter code application using generic view. Okay, first, do you remember what will happen when you go with your home page? Nothing good happen because we have not set it yet. Remember that. Yeah, we will set it later. At the moment not, so we go with post, and let's see what we have for post only. So we have WhatsApp. Okay, when you click on this, you go post, and we go to the detail view of that. As we put out here already here. When you go with only the number, click on the with a powerful number, then you go here. Okay. This means with the post, you go to the index, yeah, and the post after the post with a number, the primary key, then you will go to the detail view, which we were here. If here, post only, here, post only, because you remember it cut the post what is seen and then goes directly to our post URL and go for that. So here in post, this is the index page, and then you go with a primary key. Here we click here with primary key, so you go to detail, and if you click on vote, then you go to the result. For example, not much, then vote, then you have the result 2 vote, vote again, and with the sky, then we have 2 votes for not much and 3 votes for the sky because I love the sky, and that's it. Okay, vote again is that, and if we go with a question ID and the vote, what will happen? Question ID and vote. See here, because you have not voted yet, so it said that you have not voted yet, please vote. So I vote not much, no, I vote the sky, and you say and vote again the sky, and I have 5. Okay, that's it. Wow, we complete our 4th Django tutorial, and in the next video we will go to part 5. You see, I'm recording raw and have not editing, so that's all I have here. And thank you for watching my video. Hope to see you soon.